Thank you very much for inviting me to present Kalundborg Symbiosis at the CIX conference in Frankfurt. Allow me to share my screen with you so I can show you the presentation. I want to tell you a little bit about what we do in Kalundborg and have been doing for the last 50 years, driving sustainability with industrial symbiosis as a part of the circular economy. My name is Lisbeth Randers. I'm head of secretariat in Kalundborg Symbiosis. I've been working with the industrial symbiosis since 2003, where I was working to introduce the symbiosis to young people, to motivate them to having a career within science, and also to open their eyes towards a more sustainable approach to production. Since 2014, I've been working with the board of directors in Kalundborg Symbiosis as a part of my job as head of the development department in Kalundborg municipality. And since 1st of April this year, I've been head of secretariat in the independent organization of Kalundborg Symbiosis, allowing us to join new projects and partnerships without involving the municipal organization of Kalundborg. So let me prepare you what you can expect for the next 20 minutes. I want to introduce the private-public collaboration and ecosystem to you. And I want to also give you 3 cases of industrial symbiosis, shifting heavy industry towards a more circular economy. And I want to also show you the benefits and economic gains and reduction of environmental impact that this collaboration creates. Finally, I want to point out the future possibilities in changing the collaboration from now on. Just to make sure that you know where you are, this is Kalundborg, situated 100 kilometers west of Copenhagen, at the island of Zealand. We're a bit more north compared to Frankfurt, but basically part of the same business region. These are the partners in Kalundborg Symbiosis, starting from the left. We have Equinor Refining Denmark, Scandinavia's largest refinery, producing different kinds of fossil products, for instance, bunker oils for ships. Above that, you have Ørsted running the Asnæs power station in Kalundborg, just recently being converted from using coal to biomass. Within that site, surrounded by the orange line, you find Kalundborg Bioenergy. I'm going to tell more about how they transform the fermentation sludge from the biochemical industries to biogas and natural gas. In the middle, surrounded by the green line, you find Kalundborg Utility, distributing district heating for the city of Kalundborg, and also distributing steam to the different companies in Kalundborg Symbiosis. Kalundborg Utility also treat the wastewater from the city and the industry, and they provide fresh water and surface water as well. Below you find Gyproc Saint-Gobain, surrounded by the light blue line. They are producing plasterboards for building and have been in Kalundborg since 1972. Further below, surrounded by the dark blue line, you find Argo, a waste handling company owned by 9 different municipalities in the area, treating not only waste from households, but also from industries. Moving a little bit to the right, you find Avista Green, surrounded by the yellow line. They have just built a brand new refinery where they where they treat collected spill oil to lubricant oil. Below you find Unibio, which is a small startup company running a test and demonstration facility in Kalundborg, producing artificial proteins from methane gas. And I can see I'm covering the name of the big purple industrial site to the right, but here you find Novo Nordisk producing half the total amount of insulin for the global market in Kalundborg, employing approximately 3,000 people working day and night, 375 days a year. Also within that site, you find Novozymes producing industrial enzymes, for instance, for detergents. Also, as a partner in Kalundborg Symbiosis, you find Kalundborg Municipality taking care of the planning of new industrial areas and also attracting new companies to the area of Kalundborg. And apart from that, doing all the things that a municipality is obliged to do by law. As you can tell from the map, all the companies are situated at the end of the Bay of Kalundborg, and of course the harbor, the deep water harbor, plays an important role transporting goods in and out of Kalundborg every day. The fact that the companies are situated so close to one another secures the good business case of sharing resources. Proximity makes sure that it's efficient, for instance, to share infrastructure on energy and water, since it doesn't cost that much to construct new infrastructure between the partners. But also the fact that the companies are not competing one-to-one with each other. They are not sort of in the same business area. And there's a lot of there are many differences between producing fossil oil products compared to the farmer industry. So the fact that they can actually share informations and data on how they produce and not on what they produce, that's a key driver for the cooperation in Kalundborg. This is the ecosystem of Kalundborg Symbiosis, covering 3 different types of resources being shared between the partners: energy, water, and materials. And as you can see, the lines between the companies sort of symbolizes bilateral agreements between the partners, different kinds of commercial agreements stating long-term sharing of resources and conditions for this sharing. We've just recently made a new diagram, and this is very much the fact that the diagram changes every now and then, sometimes several times a year, since the ecosystem is organic and develops over time and changes in terms of changed legislation or markets or demands of customers or whatever. So what you see now might not be the same diagram that you will see in 6 months' time. Just to make sure that we're talking about the same kind of mechanism, this is a simple drawing of industrial symbiosis, saying that the residue from one company is used as a resource in another company. That is beneficial for economy, since you save resources, you save money, or not having somebody to handle your waste and for instance, transport it to landfill far from your production site. But the fact that you can actually sell it to your neighbor and have an income from your residue, that makes good sense and often makes a very attractive business case for the partners. But also the fact that that cooperation has a positive environmental impact, saving virgin materials, saving the outlet of CO2, since you have this local cooperation. So we very much define industrial symbiosis as a local partnership where we share resources, where we work together on creating a mutual infrastructure of benefit for the partners involved and the environment, of course. So, so you might say that this is a very simple setup, and indeed it is. It's sound reason, but in real life we find it much more complex. And for the fun of it, we took one stream and sort of unfolded it to investigate how it was being shared among the partners. And in this example show us how surface water is being shared between different partners, sort of carrying different kinds of values or temperatures or materials, and being used for multiple purposes among the partners. And I think this is, although the graphics does not really show respect to the circular approach, but this is quite circular in terms of taking a natural resource from the lake, using it for all the purposes that you can possibly think of, and having the dialogue between the partners, how they can tap into this collaboration before it's finally returned to the sea in a purified version. So this is how we've been developing the mindset of industrial symbiosis from a quite simple setup to a rather complex collaboration, where one resource is being shared by multiple stakeholders for multiple purposes. This has not happened overnight, and we didn't develop this ecosystem just in 1 year, but it took quite some time to do so. We started back in 1961 using the surface water for industrial purposes, and we have been developing different kinds of projects ever since. As you can also see, the organization of the Symbiosis Center was not there at the very beginning, but has been developed over the years, sort of to handle the different kind of challenges that the collaboration has been facing over time. Recently, we have had quite a lot of support from the EU to develop also how we could transform the mindset and offer it to SMEs for them to be inspired of green business models, and also the potential of the resource streams available in the big industrial side of Kalundborg. So let me go a little more deeper into the experiences from Kalundborg Symbiosis. As I mentioned, it all started with using the surface water of Lake Tissø, which you can see in this picture. There was a demand for water for industrial purposes from the refinery being established in the early 1960s, and it was really a challenge for the municipality to be able to get the right amount of water for this company actually to settle in Kalundborg. So a solution was found using the surface water, and a pipeline was built, being co-financed between the refinery and the municipality. Now it's bought back and owned by the utility. Today it is the backbone of the symbiosis, and many other partners apart from the refinery benefits from this infrastructure. The surface water is not used only in processes, for instance, cooling processes, but also directly into the production of, for instance, enzymes. So using and sharing surface water creates a lot of value in Kalundborg, and is a good example of how you can actually succeed in attracting new businesses to the area if you sort of establish a private-public partnership that allows you to look for new solutions. Today, approximately 3 million cubic meters of surface water is being used in the symbiosis, and we're constantly looking for opportunities how to recircle and to use the surface water that we borrow from the lake in a more intelligent way. The other case of cooperation covers energy. Back in the 1980s, a system of mutual steam provision was made, since there was an overcapacity at the power station at that time, producing electricity for the whole island of Zealand. And that was a very good business case at that time, saving also the companies having the steam from the power station a lot of money, since they were not since they did not have to run their own steam units. Today we see a totally changed business model, since the power station is now producing steam as a primary product and not as a secondary product as it was back in the 1980s. A whole new agreement was made on the green transition of the power station, and we had the Crown Prince opening this converted power station just a month ago, sort of everybody being very proud that this was actually a success, and a 20 years agreement was made between the utility, the power station, and the companies involved. So we are now having this biomass-fired power station in Kalundborg, saving approximately 800,000 tons of CO2 every year. So you could say that the good spirit of collaboration from the 1980s was repeated and renewed just recently, securing green energy for the industrial cluster in a long-term period of time, making everybody very proud that this is actually happening and creating value for the area. Just yesterday we had great news in Kalundborg that a new company is settling in Kalundborg, a biochemical company called Christian Hansen, and I think the fact that they look into the supply of green energy in the area is a main factor for them actually to look towards Kalundborg for new facilities. The third case that I want to mention is the biogas plant that was built in 2018, taking the fermentation sludge from I'm just going to move my picture a little bit. Taking the fermentation sludge from the production sites of Novo Nordisk and Novozymes and transferring it into biogas, upgrading it to natural gas, sort of being sold to the grid, and also supplying natural gas to the companies in the area. So this is also a very good example in my eyes of circular economy, where you have biochemical companies producing quite huge amounts of sludge, but it's being used locally, not transported over long distances, upgraded to natural gas, providing local companies with this kind of green energy produced on basically waste. Also, the fact that this is new technology, actually being able to capture and recover the sulfur of the sludge and extracting it to be used as a subcomponent in the fertilizer production is a major achievement and a good example of how you can actually restore the valuable materials that the sludge or the waste contains and keep it in a local setting. Back in 2016, we felt a need actually to do some documentation on what we were doing in the symbiosis, and we did a huge life cycle assessment comparing the symbiosis scenario with a theoretical scenario where we sort of cut all the strings that you saw before in the diagram, and comparing the two different scenarios with each other. And we found out that 630,000 tons of CO2 was saved annually when we had the total conversion of the power station, which has been implemented since 2019. And that's a quite a huge amount. I think you know that coming from the industrial business sector. But it's almost the same amount as being discharged by 37,000 Danes, or approximately 1% of the total emission in Denmark. So the environmental impact is very important and crucial for the companies also to engage in new projects, that they can actually see that this way of working together benefits their green profiles and helps them reach their goals on CO2 reduction and zero waste. Also very important, the cooperation saves money for society. Approximately $16.5 million is saved annually by working together. For instance, in cost of wastewater treatment or local infrastructure. But maybe the most important motivation for the companies is that a lot of money is saved at each company, sort of giving them a better competitiveness compared to the market conditions that they're on. So the fact that we're actually having this kind of production in Denmark, where costs of staff and environmental protection is high compared to other regions in the world, shows us the fact that this is the local partnership, sort of being represented by industrial symbiosis, makes good sense. It makes good money. Kalundborg Symbiosis has been existing for many years, but it's as important that we look into future projects that can expand the ecosystem and expand the circular approach to production. And I just want to mention some of the projects that we are looking into at the moment and working to develop. We have quite a large amount of excess heat in the area not being used today. Approximately 800,000 megawatt hours of excess heat is available and could be used for a purpose from Kalundborg Symbiosis. So could we sort of transform that into district heating and maybe export it outside our own area, or could we offer it for interested companies actually to buy the excess heat to a fair price, sort of giving their a value proposition for them to develop in the area. That could be very interesting, and that's some of the opportunities that we're looking into. Also, the fact that that the carbon capture technology is being developed these days at a fast speed could be interesting for the industrial cluster of Kalundborg to get involved in. Wastewater treatment might be handled by in a much more intelligent way by monitoring the different processes simultaneously as the treatment is taking place. Things like that could be a game changer for the way that we treat the wastewater in Kalundborg. Power-to-X, we have all the components in Kalundborg, so why not look into this new growing business of producing or transforming renewable energy into fuels, for instance, for cars and trucks. Zero waste is also very important for Kalundborg Symbiosis. We like to use waste as a resource, but it is not a goal in itself. We would much rather produce less zero or even or less waste or even zero waste in order to lower the environmental impact of production. District cooling is another area where we could save some of the surface water from Lake Tissø and make it more energy efficient. The way that for instance fermentation processes are being cooled today. So if we form a mutual project together and create some infrastructure, that might also be very attractive and a new goal for the Symbiosis to reach. So it's all about resources. Resources are very important in a local setup, but resources also covers the qualified staff, which sometimes is a challenge to a rural area like Kalundborg, situated quite far away from the national universities of Denmark. So the Nordisk Foundation has been sponsoring a very interesting house. We call it the Biotech Manufacturing Project House, where students are invited to come and do their assignments and theses in the future in close collaboration with the industry in Kalundborg. There will be labs and workshops for them to work in, but also classrooms and areas where we can present the results of Kalundborg Symbiosis. And I'm looking very much forward to this house where Kalundborg Symbiosis is also going to be housed, and I hope to welcome you by the end of 2021, where the house is being opened according to the plans, and do a presentation real life for you in Kalundborg. So I hope I'll see you in the project house in the coming years. So basically that was my presentation. I hope you have some questions and that we can have a mutual discussion after my presentation. But like we say in Kalundborg, systems make it possible, people make it happen. We need to talk to each other to create new solutions for circular economy. Thank you for listening. Bye.